Part 7. Become a disciple of Taoist priest Four Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 61. Chapter 61, The Treasure of Life. Disciple Su Junming of the Southern Sect of Mission, wholeheartedly invites Baikui Suanfan Mansion, the Divine Tiger Soul Captor Division, the Yin Shen Great Sage Marshal He, the Yang Shen Great Sage Marshal Chiao, the envoys of the three ministries, the Kijhan Jade Girl, the authentic meritorious officer, San Yuan. I have sent General Shenhu to go up the road along the river, and escort all the gods with good deeds. I hope that I will go up to the poor blue sky and go down to the underworld to chase the souls of the dead and come to the Dharma assembly. After that, use the fire talisman to light the book. After the book was burned, it turned into a plume of green smoke and sank into the ground. It was still a curl at first, but soon became as steep as a sharp arrow. Su Junming felt relieved. This means that the gods of the underworld have received his instructions and will open the ghost gate and release the ghosts into hell. But the scientific rituals are not finished here. He grabbed a handful of paper money and threw it in front of the altar, and the peachwood sword in his hand shot out a spiritual light. In the copper basin that had been placed earlier, the water surged and instantly became as dark as ink. A gloomy air filled the air, and the temperature dropped instantly. Fortunately, the guy named Orlan was outside the four symbols of evil killing array, otherwise he would have been frozen. With a push of magic power, the 12 flying crane talismans turned into 12 white feathered cranes with shining auras. The underworld has opened, and the spirit cranes are protecting the road, but the ghosts haven't come on the road yet. Su Junming swung the rope that bound the corpse, and the freed ghost could not help but fly towards the netherworld passage in the copper basin. The flying crane also flew in. There were fewer and fewer ghosts, and soon only the corpse demons remained. While Su Junming collected the ropes that bound the corpse, Zhu Erlang and his son ran towards the outside of the formation at the same time. If you don't eat the toast, you will be punished with alcohol. He grabbed the soul-absorbing talisman and threw it away. 2 black iron ropes were buried in the bodies of the 2 men, and the ghosts of the 2 father and son were captured in the blink of an eye. Taoist Master, have mercy on us. Taoist Master is merciful. We are disciples of Second Aunt Grandma. We hope that Taoist Master will spare our lives. Su Junming ignored the 2 people's cries and threw it directly into the copper basin. The 12 white cranes that protected the souls also flew in. When all the ghosts entered the underworld, Su Junming withdrew his magic power and the underworld passage was closed. He breathed a sigh of relief and relaxed. It was the first time I independently opened a Dharma altar to save a group of ghosts, and the process went smoothly. Looking at the remaining corpses, which were filthy and unsightly, Su Junming threw out a few fire charms and burned them to ashes. After withdrawing the 4-elephant evil slaying formation, Erlan suddenly came up with a clever idea and trotted over quickly. The previous scene had insisted on subverting his knowledge of the past 20 years. The look he looked at Su Junming was like a god. What are your orders? Find a few jars to put the ashes in, so they don't get mixed up. In addition, remove the altar and return everything to the villagers. Orlan nodded vigorously. After finishing the ritual, Su Junming felt a little tired. After the explanation, he walked to the side and sat down cross-legged to transfer the magic power and regain his energy. Less than half an hour later, Su Junming was full of energy. He opened his eyes and saw that Orlan was still cleaning the yard diligently according to his instructions. He couldn't help but nodded secretly, and his spirit sank into the sea of consciousness, and he once again understood the 4 phenomena by the Qingshui River. Formation. Time passed little by little, the sky turned from dark to bright, and the golden glow of the morning sun rose from the east and slowly enveloped the earth. Su Junming finished his morning classes. Looking at the clean courtyard and the neatly arranged tables, chairs, benches, and other objects nearby, I couldn't help but nod secretly. No wonder Ah Xing and Xiaoyu are so poor in cultivation, and their character is not Taoist. Uncle Ju still insists on protecting it. It turns out that in addition to passing on the Taoism, there is a disciple who is responsible for cleaning the courtyard, tidying up the room, and handling trivial matters. They can indeed save a lot of practice time. He turned to look at Leng, who was leaning on the corner of the table and taking a nap. Su Junming did not disturb him. He took out the Four Elephants Exorcism Evil Array and studied it overnight, adding on the previous accumulation. It is still a bit difficult to refine it into a mid-grade magical weapon, but the third treasure prohibition can be achieved overnight. With determination, the handprints flew, and the runes connected with each other, gradually creating new restrictions. Erlang remembered his second uncle's instructions and was afraid that Su Junming would tell him to do something, so he didn't dare to sleep too deeply. In a daze, I felt that the light in front of me was jumping and unusual, so I slowly opened my eyes, and a green light flashed through, and I subconsciously raised my hand to cover it. But soon the four colors of red, white, green, and black auras shone, two long and one short, surrounded by four colors, and something like a dragon and snake shone in the air. At the same time, rays of spiritual light flew out from the hands of the young but powerful Taoist priest, and were absorbed by the dragon snake-like brilliance in the blink of an eye. Visible to the naked eye, the slightly shorter dragon snake-like brilliance is getting stronger and stronger. When the three dragons and snakes were as bright as the first two, the four-color auras suddenly prevailed, and Erlang closed his eyes subconsciously. After a while, when he opened it again, all the brilliance and paraphernalia were gone, leaving only a four-color aura shining like a round table, which slowly fell into the hands of the Taoist leader. After playing with the more powerful Four Elephants Evil Killing formation in his hand, Su Junming nodded with satisfaction. Whenever we can find another pure yang spiritual material, we can practice the innate Bagua array, and it can also be used as a treasure of destiny. The natal treasure carries one's own understanding of the Great Path. Among treasures of the same level, the natal treasure can exert the strongest power. There are 7 Taoist methods of Mission Nanzang, and each Taoist method has the practice method of the treasure of life. The counterpart of the pure Yang Bagua is the Chun Yang Bagua mirror and the purple Yang Bagua diagram. The Shen de Zhenju corresponds to the martial saint statue, also known as the Guandi statue. The Sacred Fire Order corresponds to the Sacred Fire Order, Nanlao Immortal Capital Sacred Fire Seal, Purple Sun Lamp and 3 Purities Treasure Furnace. The Shangqing Shenlei method corresponds to the Thunder Drum and the Thunder Hammer, which can be used together or separately. Su Junming knows these 4 Taoist methods best. As for the names of all the natal magic weapons of the Tianyi Shen Shui Jing, Xianying Ghost Slayer Sword and Wooden Dharma, he did not know everything. It's a pity that although pure yang spiritual materials are not as hard to find as Lei Dao spiritual materials, they are still rare after all. Thinking of this, I felt a little regretful about practicing the Dayang straw mat into a formation. But it's only a few points. If it hadn't been for the 4 symbols killing evil formation, he might have died in the church in Jiquan town. Taoist priest. Seeing that Su Junming had finished refining the treasure, Orlan ran over quickly. My second uncle came here just now. He saw that you were meditating, so he didn't disturb you. I understand. When I remove the formation, you can go and notify the village and return these jars containing ashes to them for burial. Erlang nodded. What do you like to eat? I'll ask the village to cook it for you. No need, I've been inched and don't need food. As he spoke, Su Junming's handprints flashed in his palm and he unlocked the innate Bagua array. If anything happens, ask them to find me by the river. Looking at the figure that disappeared before he could nod, there was a trace of envy in Erlang's eyes. I witnessed Su Junming's extraordinary Taoist skills with my own eyes last night, and I couldn't help but yearn for the cultivation of immortality and Taoism. It would be great if I could take this Taoist priest as my teacher. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 62. Chapter 62 Taoyin, Kunyin, Swanyin. When he came to the formation by the river, he took a quick look and found that the yin-qi erosion was a bit heavier than when he left yesterday. First, use your new understanding of the four-image formation to perfect it again. Su Junming took out the four elephants evil killing formation to protect himself and began to comprehend the formation in front of him. In fact, he had memorized this complex formation diagram, but did not fully understand it. It's as if a primary school monk got the math textbook from a junior high school monk. The path is already there, but it still takes time to understand. After using the bronze mirror to meditate for a moment, he frowned slightly. Strange, this four-image formation clearly contains the use of sealing, trapping, and killing. Why abandon the killing formation and only use the sealing formation? Is it to lock the yin-qi inside? What if it is all refined? Wouldn't it be easier? Su Junming didn't think much about it. Once he understood the formation and understood everything in it, the answer to his question would naturally come to him. Taoist priest, Taoist priest. The shouting came again. Su Junming woke up and turned around to take a look. Zhu Fengzhu and several servants were seen walking around the stone bridge, stepping on the field ridge towards him. Before he could get close, he was ejected by an invisible barrier. Fortunately, these people have no magic power, otherwise the pure yang true fire on the four symbols evil killing formation could burn them to ashes. Taoist priest, I'm here to give you some money, please accept your magical powers. Zhu Fengzhu couldn't care less about his embarrassment and quickly got up from the ground and shouted. I said yesterday that you only have one day, and now it's the second day, why are you here? Taoist priest, I went to look for you yesterday, but my second uncle said you were inspecting by the river and wouldn't let me disturb you. I had to save a bunch of ghosts at night, and no one dared to come. That's why I waited until today. Taoist Master Ming Jian. In fact, he heard that Su Junming showed his magical power again and saved a group of ghosts into the underworld. He was afraid that he would leave after doing this and worried about his own life, so he found out about Su Junming's whereabouts from his second uncle early in the morning and hurriedly let him go. The servant rushed over with some silver. Su Junming, who was eager to understand this profound four-image formation and was too lazy to argue with him, took out a porcelain bottle from the magic bag beside him, poured out a pill, and threw it towards Zhu Fengzhu. The latter hurriedly took help, but because his feet were too fast, he almost fell again. Put down the money, take away the elixir, and within an hour, take it with warm water, and the corpse energy will be removed from your body. Yes, yes, thank you, Taoist master, thank you, Taoist master. He quickly ordered his servants to put down the money, and Zhu Feng turned around and left with 1,000 thanks. Su Junming looked at his back, smiled faintly, and flicked his fingers. A ray of mana shot out, penetrated from the Dazui point, and flowed throughout the body like lightning, quickly forcing the corpse energy out of Zhu Fengzhu's body. The pill he gave Zhu Feng was just dough, something to hide from others. He stretched out his hand and took 500 taels of silver. He still used the purple spirit white fire to make a rough embryo the size of a sesame seed and put it in the box. This usual accumulation bit by bit, although slow, is far better than doing nothing. After a day of enlightenment, Su Junming, who had gained something again, simply did not go back. In the meantime, the second uncle sent someone to ask again, but he sent him away. The night is getting darker, and there is silence between heaven and earth. Su Junming suddenly opened his eyes and looked at a stone not far away. Who is there? If you don't come out, I won't be polite. Fellow Taoist, wait a minute. An old voice sounded, and an old woman holding a silver crutch, with white hair and beard, and wearing a yellow robe suddenly appeared on the boulder. Su Junming's eyesight flashed, and the image of the old woman disappeared, and a white-bearded weasel half the height of a man appeared in front of him. You are the second ant that those zombies and ghosts call you. Exactly, but don't get me wrong, fellow Taoist. I just got to know those ghosts when I settled there because the yin energy in the ancestral tombs in Tanhua village was strong, and I didn't let them act recklessly. That's true, otherwise there won't be a single living person in Tanhua village until I come. Su Junming nodded and continued, that night, you were the one watching in the canopy opposite Zhu Erlang's house, right? That's right. I saw those ghosts being taken in by fellow Taoists. I thought the fellow Taoists were going to use them to practice magic, so I went to stop them. Later I found out that the fellow Taoists were just gathering them to prevent them from harming the village, so I left on my own initiative. Then why did you show up this time? Su Junming said unequivocally. This time I have an opportunity for you to give to the Taoist priest. Opportunity, Su Junming's eyes flashed. Exactly. I wonder what kind of opportunity it is. This place is where a cultivator at the peak of his innate ability went through tribulation. However, he didn't accumulate enough and fell here without surviving the last tribulation thunder. I think there must be a lot of good things left in it. Su Junming raised his eyebrows. Since there are such benefits, why don't you enjoy them all to yourself? The Taoist master has great strength and discovered this place again. Even if I didn't say anything, the Taoist master could break the formation and get the treasure. Moreover, I don't know the formation. I originally planned to get the treasure after the formation was broken by the yin qi, but there was with the Taoist priest here, this strategy is no longer feasible. Now that I have taken the initiative to offer treasures, I hope that the Taoist master can share a few treasures with me because of my early arrival and the merits of offering treasures. Su Junming nodded and thought for a moment. You have been here for many days, but do you know why the yin energy here is so strong? Because there is a yin vein under this formation. Yin veins. Su Junming was shocked. There are water veins in rivers and rock veins in mountains, which are the auras of mountains, rivers, and lakes. The same is true for the yin veins, but what is condensed in the yin veins is not ordinary spiritual energy, but the rich kunyin energy. There are three types of yin qi in the heaven and earth, namely the Taiyin qi represented by the Taiyin star, the kunyin qi condensed in the earth, also called Shui yin qi, and the Xian yin qi in all living beings and human beings. The qi of Taiyin is light and cold in nature. It is high in the nine heavens and cannot be obtained without great magic power. The qi of kunyin is turbid in nature and yin in nature. It is hidden in the earth. Although it is not as rare as the qi of Taiyin, it is also difficult to condense. The qi of Xuanyin is pure in nature and spiritual in nature. It is hidden in the perineum of the human body and cannot be condensed by non-cultivators. For anyone who practices pure yin techniques, a yin vein is an excellent place to assist in practice. The Shangqing Great Cave Sutra practiced by Su Junming is gentle, and there is no need for it, but the Xuanyin ghost-slaying sword requires the condensation of yin energy. If there is a yin vein, refining it will be twice the result with half the effort. Of course, he doesn't know the method of condensing the Xuanyin ghost-slaying sword, but he can sell the yin veins in exchange for resources. I think there must be countless people interested. When he thought of this, Su Junming looked at the weasel opposite him with a bad look. A few thoughts are gone in a flash. The spiritual sense of monks is generally very sensitive, so it is better not to expose it. It's the yin vein. The monk chose this place to cultivate and break through the realm. Most likely he chose this place because of its strong yin qi, which can help him resist the thunder. But unfortunately, the way of heaven is ruthless, and his years of cultivation have finally turned into water. It's so sad. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest for us. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 63. Chapter 63, Three Huangman Families. Looking at the weasel opposite, Su Junming's eyes flickered. Why do fellow Taoists know the news about this place so clearly? Brother Deo, I forgot. I've been here a few more days than you, so I naturally know a lot more about it. Su Junming nodded. I still don't understand something. I hope fellow Taoist can explain it. Please say. There are 3 yellow sects in the world. I wonder which one your friend is. Fox yellow and white willow ash, also known as the 5 immortals. Among them, the Huangxian is the weasel. The worship of the 5 immortals originated from northeastern shamanism. However, all living beings in the world can become immortals, and weasels are no exception. In addition to the northeast Huangmen, there are also 2 factions in the Huangmen inside the pass. One faction is in Guanzhong, also known as Guanzhong Huangmen, the other is in Wuling Mountain, also known as Wuling Huangmen. Both Huangmen have produced monks above the golden core level, and they have a certain inheritance. Although it is not as good as Mission, Laguan Taoism, and other famous Taoist sects, it is still considered to be in the mainstream and has a small reputation in the world of spiritual practice. Weasel cupped his hands and said seriously. The next step is Huang Rengzio of Wuling Huangmen. I have met my Taoist friend. Do you know if he is a direct descendant of that high family? Su Junming, Mission Nanzang. It turns out that he is a master disciple of Nan Mission. No wonder he has such profound cultivation at such a young age. Huang Rengzio admires him. Excessive praise. I have always heard that the Yiqi Niajing Gong of the Huangmen sect in Wuling is a rare Feng Dao method in the world of spiritual practice. I wonder if you have practiced it? Wuling Huangmen's basic Taoist method, you must have practiced it again. What a coincidence. I already know a thing or two about Feng Dao. Today is a rare opportunity. How about having a discussion with fellow Taoists, Su Junming said with a smile. Huang Rengzio's eyes flashed, and then he smiled. Since my Taoist friends are elegant, they should obey it next time. But the important treasure is right in front of us, so it is better to start the formation to get the treasure first. Otherwise, if someone else comes to share the treasure, you and I will not get a lot of benefits. Fellow Taoist, what you say is also wise. Forget it, let's get the treasure first. Su Junming nodded. Seeing him sitting down cross-legged and continuing to meditate, Huang Rengzio said quickly. Fellow Taoist, since you know the 4 symbols formation, how about breaking this big formation? And with the help of internal yin qi, it can be broken in a matter of seconds if attacked from both inside and outside. Su Junming smiled slightly. Since there are yin veins below, wouldn't it be a pity if they were broken and allowed to dissipate? Besides, this senior's understanding of the 4 symbols formation is much better than mine, so I would like to take this opportunity to understand it. Huang Rengzio's eyes instantly turned gloomy. Although fellow Taoist words are like this, don't you understand the truth that things will change if things are delayed? It's just you and me here, how can there be any changes? My fellow Taoist is not going to abandon me and get the treasure alone, right? Looking at his deep eyes, Huang Rengzio felt a chill in his heart and forced a smile. Haha, how could it be possible? Fellow Taoist is too worried. If so, how could I appear in front of fellow Taoist? I guess so. After the 2 of them smiled at each other, Su Junming slowly closed his eyes. Looking at the shining array on his knees and the pure yang energy surrounding his whole body, Huang Rengzio's eyes flashed, and a moment later, he disappeared across the river. Fellow Taoist, please practice now and come back tomorrow. Glancing at her leaving back, Su Junming smiled faintly and closed his eyes again. 7 days passed, and Tanhua village returned to normalcy. Villagers work at sunrise and rest at sunset. Because of the fear of the Suanwu jade statue, no one came to disturb Su Junming's practice. Only the second uncle would occasionally send a foot or Orlan to ask questions, but he dismissed them all. As time passed, no one bothered me again. Even the villagers have begun to get used to this young Taoist priest who sits cross-legged on the back of the big jade turtle every day, motionless. At noon on the 8th day, the sun was shining brightly, and the real sun was scorching the earth. The intense heat made even the cicadas chirping on the trees somewhat feeble. Bathed in the sunshine, Su Junming, who practices Chunyang Taoism, feels very comfortable. Look up at the sunshine, and then look at the ancestral graves in Tanhua village opposite where there are dense pines and cypresses. These days, although the weasel did not come to urge him again, he was always there to monitor him. Only between 2 o'clock and 1 o'clock every day, during the hottest time of the day, would one take shelter in a large tomb in the middle of the Tanhua village cemetery. It's almost time. After counting with his fingers, Su Junming picked up the 4 elephants evil killing formation placed on his knees and threw it away. His hands were like butterflies piercing flowers, and he quickly pinched out the seals one by one and flew into the formation. After 7 days, with the 4 elephant formation in front of him as a reference, his understanding of the 4 elephant formation has advanced by leaps and bounds. Although he has not fully understood the 4 image formation in front of him, he is afraid that things will change if it is too late. He felt distressed to give away even one of the treasures left behind by a Pekinate monk. Buzz. Invisible tremors quickly spread throughout the surrounding area. Seeing the complete depiction of the 4th treasure ban, Su Junming felt excited. This 4 symbols evil killing array is the first mid-grade magical weapon that he personally refined, and it is of great significance. He suppressed the surprise in his heart and continued to practice. As hand seals and spiritual techniques flew into the formation one after another, the 5th restriction gradually emerged. After about a quarter of an hour, there was another tremor, and the range of the formation's fluctuations expanded from 18 feet to 23 feet. Just when he was about to go all out and practice the 6th treasure taboo, suddenly the spiritual platform gave a warning. After stopping his hand, he raised his hand to take back the 4 symbols to kill evil formation, then he closed his eyes and sat up to meditate. Huang Rengzio emerged from a large tomb. She could not transform during the day and still looked like a white-bearded weasel. With a few deft jumps, he came to the edge of the cemetery and looked into the distance. The Mission Taoist priest was still sitting cross-legged on the Suanwu jade statue, meditating. What happened to the spiritual energy fluctuation just now? Could it be that my consciousness was wrong? Call. A strong wind carried a heat wave and rolled in. Huang Rengzio shrank back in disgust, took several steps back, and stopped only after reaching the shade of a tree. Damn the weather! Cursing lowly, he raised his head and glanced at Su Junming, who was by the river in the distance. There was a cold light in his eyes. After staring for a moment, he found nothing strange, then turned around and followed the way he came, and got into the tomb again. Su Junming opened his eyes and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, he understood the puppet talisman to the stage of the blue basic talisman and was able to do 4 things at once. While refining the treasure previously, he did not relax his vigilance towards the weasel and kept paying attention to the movements of the other party with the 3rd eye between his eyebrows. Only in this way can you detect it in advance and prevent the other party from seeing through your secret. Look at the time, it's past noon. The time has passed, and the 6th treasure ban will not work today. Su Junming calmed down and continued to comprehend the 4 image formation in front of him. Time passed little by little, and it turned dark in the blink of an eye. Huang Rengzio transformed into a human body, came out of the tomb, went down the mountain all the way to the river bank, and looked directly at the little Taoist priest opposite. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 64. Chapter 64, Breaking the Formation and Obtaining Treasures. Fellow Taoist, you have been meditating for 8 consecutive days, have you gained anything? Su Junming opened his eyes. Of course. It's just that the 4 image formation is profound, and I haven't fully understood it yet. The formation is inherently difficult, especially if it is a Dongzhen top-grade formation. After a pause, Huang Rengzio changed his tone. Fellow Taoist, I have been here for many days, and I really don't want to wait any longer. If you don't take action, I will notify other fellow Taoists to come and collect the treasure. You threaten me. Su Junming's tone was cold. Although it is not my intention, fellow Taoists can understand it this way. One person and one weasel looked at each other, neither giving in to the other. After a moment, Su Junming suddenly smiled. Forget it, since my fellow Taoist is impatient, I will activate the formation and work together to get the treasure. Huang Rengzio showed a hint of joy on his face. If so, that would be great. But let's agree first, I want to get the things inside first, Su Junming said. Fellow Taoist, you have worked hard to activate the formation, so naturally you can take it first, Huang Rengzio said quickly. Su Junming nodded slightly and looked at the center of the river. During this period of time, he continued to comprehend, and he had already understood 7 points of the entire 4-image formation. Although the remaining 3 points are not fully understood, they can still control this formation, but there are a few points missing in the changes, and they cannot exert the full power of the formation. Otherwise, a monk with perfect innateness could suppress a large formation of high-grade Dongzhen with the flip of his palm. If the cave is truly perfect, a monk in the early stages of the golden elixir would never be able to get out if he fell into it. Su Junming took a deep breath, and while calming down, he quickly formed seals with his hands like windmills, and flew to the river one after another. Soon, a large formation covering a 50-foot radius emerged from nowhere. The legal nets cover the earth with a majestic momentum. Buzz. Su Junming's seal skills became more and more urgent, and the tremors of the formation became more intense. Sudden. A green light as thick as an arm's length rose from the east. A 4-meter-long green dragon jade sculpture with visibly scaly armor and sharp claws emerged from the river, and the rich aura of green wood dissipated. Immediately afterwards, white light burst out from the west. A white tiger jade sculpture, 3 meters long and 1 meter high, roaring towards the sky, with its hair exploding and a lively expression, also appeared from the river. The sharp golden aura caused Su Junming, who was 10 feet away, to feel a slight tingling sensation on his skin. Behind the southern Suzaku shot up a red beam of light, and the strong fire energy seemed to explode into a ball of flame. The northern Suanwi rushes up the blue light beam, like a huge wave, and the surging water aura makes people feel like they are in a river. 4 beams of light soared nearly 10 feet into the sky, and then turned towards the center of the formation. Where the 4 light pillars meet, the 4 color light clusters grow from small to large. Gradually, one side is as big as a millstone, and an array pattern with dense patterns appears in Su Junming's eyes. Looking at the majestic and brilliant array, Su Junming was quite excited. But when I saw the fine black lines on the surface of the array, I couldn't help but sigh. Although this formation can absorb the spiritual energy of mountains, rivers, and lakes and operate on its own, it has not been nourished by mana for many years. Now that it has been invaded by yin qi, even if no one breaks the formation, it will not last for a few years. Soon, above his formation, a figure turned from blur to clear. A middle-aged man wearing a green Taoist robe, sitting cross-legged and meditating, gradually emerged. This man's face was thin, his long eyebrows slanted into his temples, his brows had faint frown lines, and his facial features exuded a fierce aura, but there was no trace of life in his body. A light yellow magic bag with a rusty Tai Chi diagram was tied around his waist. It was bulging and obviously contained a lot of things. In his right hand, he held a black pennant the size of a wash basin. It had a faint aura and looked very extraordinary. However, there was a large tear near the flagpole, making the pennant look somewhat broken. Looking at the pennant, Su Junming's eyes showed desire. This is obviously an extraordinary magical weapon. However, he was acutely aware of the barely concealed hatred in Huang Rengzio's eyes after the middle-aged man appeared. Obviously, there was a story between the two parties that he didn't know about. Call. At the same time as the formation diagram emerged, a raging wave of yin qi instantly emerged from the formation. Because it has been sealed for many years and has no way to escape, the surging yin qi is like an angry dragon, attacking the formation. But the four symbols formation is like an extremely strong dam, firmly sealing the yin qi inside. Fellow Taoists, please work harder, the formation will open soon. Huang Rengzio stared at the inside of the formation with a nervous expression and a hurried tone. Fellow Taoist Huang, don't forget the previous agreement. Don't worry, fellow Taoist Su. Su Junming's eyes flashed, his finger gestures changed, and the light of the formation dimmed instantly. Huang Rengzio, who had been closely watching the changes in the formation, looked overjoyed and made a magic formula as fast as lightning. The pennant that had been held by the middle-aged corpse turned into a stream of light and flew towards her hand. Seeing that the treasure he had coveted for many years was about to be obtained, Huang Rengzio was extremely excited. But in an instant, a sense of danger hit me. He gritted his teeth and retreated instantly. A black iron chain rubbed her body, passing through it like a sharp sword. The attack had no effect, and the chain swept across instantly. At the same time, another black iron chain flew over. Two thick black chains, like two dragons, circled and sheared, forcing Huang Rengzio to retreat. What does this mean, fellow Taoists? Watching the pennant sink into the formation again, Huang Rengzio's face was extremely gloomy. The attack was ineffective. Su Junming felt quite regretful in his heart. Withdrawing the two soul-locking chains, he paused the finger gestures in his hands. The four-elephant formation that he had mobilized came to a standstill for an instant, and then slowly calmed down. The human corpse, the array diagram, and the four spiritual lights slowly faded and disappeared. Under the night, the Qingshui River gurgled to the southeast. On both sides of the river, Su Junming and Huang Rengzio faced each other. The atmosphere between them can be said to be as low as possible. Haha, I would like to ask what Huang Daiyu means. We agreed at the beginning that after breaking the formation, I would get the treasure first. Why is it that before I break the formation, Huang Daiyu takes action first? Moreover, I think Huang Daiyu is right that pennant is so familiar, so why don't you tell me its origin? Looking at the smiling Su Junming, Huang Rengzio felt extremely hateful. By this time, both sides had broken up, and she no longer had any worries. Stinky Taoist, I wanted to get the Swanyan flag before dealing with you. Since you are anxious and want to die, I will help you. After speaking sternly, Huang Rengzio opened his hand and took out a black three-pronged steel fork. His figure was like lightning, and he attacked Su Junming directly. This black steel fork is obviously different from ordinary people. Under the urging of magic power, it blooms 3 feet of black light, cutting through the air, and it is fierce and menacing. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 65. Chapter 65, Innate Fighting Skills. Su Junming seemed to be frightened. Facing Huang Rengzio and the 3-strand steel fork, he just looked straight at them without moving. Wrong. Huang Rengzio's expression changed, and he instantly noticed something unusual and retreated. It's time to be alert, but it's too late. Su Junming smiled coldly, his hands were like butterflies piercing flowers, and countless seals flew out in an instant. 4 elephants evil slaying formation, rise. Buzz. 4 trembling sounds, 4 hot pillars of pure yang fire, covering the surrounding area of 23 feet. Dozens of golden chains formed an airtight net, covering Huang Rengzio in the middle in the blink of an eye. As soon as the yang qi rushed out, her illusion no longer worked, and the original body of the white-bearded weasel appeared. Impossible. Your formation only has 2 levels of restrictions. She had secretly peeked at Su Junming's formation level a long time ago, so there would never be such a big mistake. Could it be that, you have been lying to me before? Huang Rengziu asked angrily. She didn't know that there were treasures in the world that could assist practice and increase understanding, which could make people make great progress in difficult formation practice in just 7 or 8 days. So when I saw this picture of the 4-image array with 5 treasures, I instinctively guessed that Su Junming was lying to her from the beginning. Whatever you think. But don't you feel stuffy after wearing this weasel skin for so long? You'd better come out for some air. The soul-binding chain sank into the weasel's body like lightning, and with a strong pull, a beautiful-looking woman wearing a red robe, but full of anger flew out of the weasel's body. The pure yang power in the formation rushed forward, and screams suddenly sounded. But soon the extremely thick yin qi swarmed out of the woman's body, blocking the surrounding yang qi. Have you seen through my identity a long time ago? The female ghost asked. Su Junming smiled slightly. If it weren't for a little more certainty, do you think I would have tolerated you until now? The bronze mirror can help him break through illusions and preserve reality, so when he first saw the weasel, Su Junming noticed the female ghost hidden in its body. Although I don't know what method the other party used, he completely restrained all his ghost energy. But the magic of the bronze mirror cannot be concealed. Impossible. Even the golden elixir can't see through my microcosm technique. How can you, a little genius, see through it? There are so many wonderful arts in the world, how can you know them all? The female ghost's expression instantly darkened, and she stared at Su Junming with deep hatred in her eyes. You deserve to die. With each word, the evil energy on her face condensed into black veins, making her look extremely ferocious. Endless yin qi rushed out of his body, and the stimulating golden chains flickered. Su Junming's face was tense and he did not dare to neglect. He quickly activated the rope to bind the body and trap the female ghost several more times. Now this bundle of corpses has been refined by him into 3 treasures, and its binding ability is stronger than when it was in the church in Jiquan town. But this female ghost is already an innately perfect evil ghost. Even the 5 forbidden laws of the 4 symbols and evil killing formation and the corpse binding ropes can hardly suppress her. Damn it, I can't hold it anymore. Su Junming cursed secretly in his heart. Although his arrangement was successful, the female ghost was too powerful. Stinky Taoist, back then I was restrained and refined by that bastard Yin Mingzi and became the main soul of the Swanyan banner. I was ravaged by him for 49 years and suffered a lot, but he didn't get a good end either. The final thunderbolt struck me. I fought hard to destroy my body and soul, and restrain the magic power of Swanyan banner, so that the bastard was killed by the thunder from the sky. In the next 100 years, I swallowed up all the yin souls in the Swanyan banner, exhausted half of my soul power, broke through the blockade, and regained my freedom. I wanted to use the yin energy here to practice and restore myself, but I never thought that this ignorant beast would rely on a few. The cultivator of the formation method actually ran in without knowing whether to live or die. It deserves to die, and it just happens to be my cauldron. Haha, after all, it's not me. Those mud legs actually moved the Suanwu statue as the base of the formation, causing a loophole in the 4 elephants covering the sky formation. I took the opportunity to escape. I originally wanted to use the yin qi of the underground yin veins. I broke through this formation, took that old bastard's treasure, and became an immortal. I never thought that I would meet a stinky Taoist like you and ruin my good deeds. Originally I wanted to kill you directly, but seeing that you knew how to use the 4-elephant formation, I lured you with money to break the formation. If I succeeded, I might as well leave you a way to live. But now, you go to hell. A ghost roar turned into a surging sound wave and rushed straight towards Su Junming. Instantly my eardrums vibrated and I had a splitting headache. This was the first time he encountered this kind of sonic secret method, and he soon suffered a big loss. Boom. The surging yin energy soared into the sky from the female ghost's body like an angry dragon. Bang bang was heard repeatedly, and the ropes that bound her body were instantly propped up, and more than a dozen golden chains that were transformed by the power of the four symbols of evil killing array were broken. The formation and the corpse-binding ropes were connected to Su Junming's mind, and no changes could be hidden from him. Not good. Su Junming's face changed drastically, and he no longer hesitated in his heart. He suppressed his headache, made fists with his hands, and drank loudly. Disciple Su Junming, I respectfully invite Emperor Guansheng to come to me. I am as urgent as the law. Stomping his left foot 3 times in a row, a surge of power instantly flowed from the top door directly into the danshan. Su Junming had already practiced the third stage of the Shen De Zhenju, which instantly gave Su Junming the power of the middle innate stage. The pain in my head was relieved by half in an instant, and my consciousness became clear again. With the support of more powerful magic power, the 4 elephants' evil killing array stabilized again, and the corpse-binding rope shined brightly, trapping the female ghost in the middle. Su Junming focused on 4 things, activating the large formation and the ropes to bind the corpse. At the same time, the Pure Yang Talisman and the Demon-Slaying Sword Talisman from the magic bag flew out at the same time, like lightning, directly piercing the female ghost's eyebrows and chest to draw blood. Laugh. The demon-slaying sword talisman was blocked by the female ghost's yin qi and could not penetrate the ghost's body. Although the pure yang talisman has been repeatedly trained by Su Junming and is no longer as powerful as a magic weapon with 3 forbidden treasures, the female ghost is actually stronger. 3 inches away from her eyebrows, it was blocked by the thick yin qi and could not exert its power. Su Junming was secretly shocked. He had painstakingly calculated and cleverly planned to get this female ghost into his own formation. Now that he had used all kinds of methods, he still couldn't capture her without even thinking about it. The strength of the Xiantian perfection cultivator really exceeded his expectations. Fortunately, the female ghost originally wanted to use him to break the formation and get the treasure. Otherwise, she would have taken action when she came up, and she would have been afraid that he would not survive until now. Stinky Taoist priest, when I defeat your tricks and destroy your formation, I will definitely restrain your soul and refine your soul. You will not be able to live or die, the female ghost shouted fiercely. Su Junming frowned, looked solemn, and had a stern expression. Then I'll let you die first. Explode. Boom. The pure yang talisman exploded instantly, and all the pure yang power inside was released. The masculine power like a raging wave instantly destroyed the female ghost's yin qi. Ah! A shrill scream sounded instantly. Half of the female ghost's head was melted by the power of pure yang. At the same time, the demon slayer sword talisman that lost its resistance passed through the chest. Suffering heavy losses, the female ghost's strength was greatly reduced. The golden chains formed by the formation and the corpse-binding ropes shined brightly, trapping the female ghost even more to death. Come again. Su Junming, who was furious in his heart, used his magic power, and the demon-slaying sword talisman was as fast as lightning, and it circled around and chopped off the female ghost's head. If you want me to die, I won't make it easy for you. The female ghost is obviously also a cruel person. Back then she was able to risk her body and soul and let the thunder from the sky destroy Yin Mingzi. Now she is no ambiguity either. Look at the ghost energy surging violently on her body. Su Junming's expression changed and his figure suddenly retreated. Boom. There was a shocking loud noise, and the surging yin qi was like a river rolling back, swarming out, and the formation was broken through in an instant. A stream of grey light rushed out like lightning, and before it could fly far, a black chain lightning bird flew over and was tied up in the blink of an eye. Spare your life. Before he finished speaking, he was twisted by the chains and his body and soul were destroyed. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 66. Chapter 66 Many Gains. Ahem. A trace of blood left the corner of his mouth. Su Junming endured the pain and sat up cross-legged, clutching his chest. He reached out and made a move, and the demon-slaying sword talisman flew towards him. The spiritual light on it was dim, and it was obvious that it had been greatly damaged by the female ghost's self-destruction. Fortunately, it's not broken. As long as it's warmed up, it can still be used. Looking at the 4 elephants' evil-killing formation again, the 4 pure yang talismans at the top of the formation were originally given by Uncle Ju, but now they are all gone. Even the formation diagram refined from Dianko had 3 large cracks, and it took a lot of time to repair it before it could be used again. The corpse tying rope was even worse than the 4 elephants' evil-killing array formation. It was directly broken into 4 parts, and there was no possibility of repairing it. After a big battle, he only had 3 magic weapons in his hand. Except for the talisman bag, which was still intact, the remaining 2 became like despair. Thinking of the painstaking sacrifices he had made in the past, the distressed Su Junming sucked in his breath. If the things in the formation cannot make up for the losses, I will really suffer a big loss this time. But besides the treasures in the formation, he also had other gains. He stretched out his hand and a black 3-pronged steel fork flew into his hand from a distance. With a surge of magic power, 3 treasure taboos emerged from the steel fork. Su Junming felt happy. This fork is enough to make up for the loss of the rope I used to tie up the body. In addition, after a brief ritual training, it was discovered that the 3-pronged fork was made of 300 refined fine iron, and its quality had reached the middle grade of Dongzhen. However, the training techniques were relatively rough and the potential of this fine iron was not fully realized. Look at this technique, it's a copy of Suanman. It should be that weasel's thing. Take it in your hand and play with it. Su Junming didn't feel comfortable using this 3-pronged fork. But with this fork as a foundation, his big plan of gathering the hardware talents and refining the flying sword has taken a step forward. It's just that the fine iron required for flying swords requires at least 10,000 refinements, and these 3-strand forks are still far behind. He put the 3-pronged fork into his magic bag, stretched out his hand, and the weasel's body flew over. This white-bearded weasel was also a monster in the middle stage of innateness when he was alive. If he hadn't failed to find the treasure and fell into the formation, and his monster soul was swallowed by the female ghost, he wouldn't have died so miserably. I grabbed the weasel's front paw and found a yellow bag under its arm. He took it off and opened it, shaking his hand, and the messy things fell to the floor. There are a lot of jewelry such as gold hairpins, jade bracelets, earrings, jade pendants, etc., and most of them are filled with yin energy, so it is not difficult to guess their origin. This guy has stolen a lot of big tombs. Su Junming is currently collecting gold and silver to refine flying swords. He is not polite about these belongings. He uses his magic power to refine the yin qi attached to them and puts them all into his pocket. Go out and find a bigger city. If you sell these things, you can earn another few thousand taels of silver. Looking at the remaining items, there is a jade bottle 1 foot high, a jade slip, and a jade box. The jade bottle is covered with talismans, which are popular in the spiritual world. Su Junming can also draw relatively simple sealing talismans. After removing the talisman, a scent of elixir fills the mouth and nose. Su Junming has taken hundreds of pills so far in his practice. As soon as he smelled it, he knew that it contained the most common huanja pill in the cultivation world. I pulled out the plug and counted it. There were 39 in total. Jade slips are generally a carrier for recording Taoism. When the magic is activated, countless ancient and clumsy fonts emerge. Fu Kongzi asked True Lord Xinling. Su Junming, who had seen hundreds of jade slips in the Nanzang Sutra Pavilion in Mission, understood it as soon as he saw the beginning. What is recorded on this jade slip is the practice notes recorded by a monk named Fu Kongzi after listening to the sermon at True Monarch Xinling. And looking at the font style, it was at least before the Tang dynasty. Looking at the following content, Su Junming was shocked and then overjoyed. In the form of questions and answers, this jade slip records the practice methods of the three major categories of formations, namely the three talents, the four symbols, and the five elements, from the shallower to the deeper. Three talents, four symbols, and five elements are also the layout methods used by most formations in the spiritual world. The remaining 1 Yuan, Liangyi, Liuhe, 7 stars, Bagua, etc. are relatively rare. What a good thing! No wonder the weasel was able to enter the 4 elephants covering the sky. It turns out there is this treasure in his pocket. Su Junming couldn't put it down. If he could fully understand the contents of this jade slip, he would be able to arrange a top-notch Dongzhen or even a Dongsuan level formation. After carefully putting it into his bag, he picked up the jade box. The sealing talisman on it was removed, revealing 3 spiritual grasses 1 foot tall, with long and narrow leaves, black with a touch of white. Yinming grass. I heard that this thing grows in extremely yin places and is a good material for refining yin attribute magic weapons. After careful observation, I found out after comparing it with the jade slips I had seen for identifying herbal medicines. These 3 Yinming grasses are only a little over 200 years old and can only be regarded as low-grade Dongzhen. However, if you take it to the market, Songgendong's low-grade Yinming grass can be exchanged for 50 Huanjidan. After sealing the Yinming grass and putting the jade box into the magic bag, Su Junming looked at the only remaining weasel corpse underground. The bodies of monsters are generally stronger than humans, and their muscles, bones, fur, and blood are all excellent materials for refining weapons. Especially this was a weasel in the middle stage of innateness, several times stronger than the vixen he killed earlier. What's even more rare is that this weasel was killed by the female ghost, and its muscles, blood, and bones were not damaged. Cough. A stinging pain emerged from his chest. He didn't care to clean up the weasel's body. Su Junming quickly collected himself, meditated and adjusted his breath, restored his mana, and nursed back his injuries. Time passed little by little, but fortunately no other demonic monks came again. Otherwise, he might really explain it here. The sky was getting brighter, and Su Junming slowly opened his eyes after taking a long breath after swallowing a breath of innate purple energy formed when yin and yang met. Thanks to the 4 symbols evil killing formation and the corpse binding rope, he blocked most of the power of the female ghost's self-destruction, otherwise he would have suffered more than just a minor internal injury. After a night of breathing adjustment, the mana has been restored. The injury in the inner palace still needs a few days of recovery, but it is not a serious problem. His ears twitched slightly. Su Junming turned his head and looked at the dirt road connecting the village in the distance. Not long after, Ah Fu and Er Leng appeared. The two of them walked around the corner, looking around, and found that the river was no different from before. Although the female ghost's self-destruction was powerful, it only made the river water rise 3 feet high and did not damage the fields on both sides. When they saw the weasel that was as tall as half a man at Su Junming's feet, both of them were stunned. They had never seen such a big weasel. I'm afraid this thing has become a spirit. Ah Fu thought. It has been passed down from the elders in rural areas that weasels are extremely vindictive and possess evil spirits. So when ordinary people see this thing, they won't stay away, but they won't take the initiative to provoke it. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 67. Chapter 67 Swanyan Flag. Good morning, Taoist priest. Looking away from the weasel corpse, Ah Fu walked in and quickly bowed and saluted. What's the matter? Su Junming said calmly. There was thunder and lightning here last night. My second uncle was afraid that something might happen to the Taoist priest, so he asked us to come and take a look. If the Taoist priest needs anything, we in Tanhua village can also provide some help. Thank you second uncle for me. I'm fine. You can go back. There was such a loud noise last night, especially the female ghost's self-destruction. The nearby Tanhua village must have heard it. They sent people down to check, and Su Junming was not surprised. Plop. Ah Fu suddenly knelt down. Taoist master, come on. This disciple has been admiring Taoist theory for a long time since he started studying. He has always wanted to become a monk and practice Taoism. In the future, he can also subdue demons and help the world. Unfortunately, for many years, he has never been able to enter. Now that I have met the Taoist master, I am really lucky. I hope that the Taoist master will not think that the disciple is stupid and accept him as his disciple. The disciple will devote himself to cultivating the Tao and serve his teacher. After saying this, he bowed 3 times and kowtowed again. I hope the Taoist master will have mercy. Len next to him also knelt down. Su Junming waved his hand, and a strong force surged out, lifting the two of them up. This is my first time coming down the mountain, and I have no plans to recruit disciples to preach. You can go on your own. Taoist priest. Ah Fu was anxious and was about to continue. Su Junming had already activated the divine movement technique in the appendix of Huishan talisman, grabbed the weasel body, and disappeared instantly. Taoist, Taoist, I hope the Taoist has mercy. Kong shouted for a long time, but Su Junming was nowhere to be seen, and the pleading look on Ah Fu's face gradually faded. What's wrong with a stinking Taoist priest? You want to accept a disciple, but I'm not willing yet. Leng, let's go. After patting the dust on his knees, Ah Fu turned around and walked towards the way he came from with a figure-footed step. Now I finally have an explanation for my second uncle. Orlen, what are you looking at? Come on. Here we come, master. The tall Orlen nodded, glanced around with a disappointed expression, and followed Ah Fu away with a bit of reluctance. 70 meters away, on the crown of a big poplar tree, Su Junming watched the two people leave and shook his head. Ah Fu's eyes were long and narrow, and he had a hawk-like beak and monkey cheeks. At first glance, he looked like a profit-seeking and unjust person. Not to mention that he didn't want to accept a disciple now, he would never accept such a disciple even if he wanted to. The tall guy named Len was indeed a loyal person, but in the end he was not destined to be with him. 7 days later, Su Junming recovered from his injuries. With Fu Kong's practice notes and ready-made formation references, he finally understood the 4 elephants covering the sky formation in the river. Another day and night. Su Junming came to the river and looked at the Qingshui River gurgling under the night, with longing in his eyes. Although the gains from this weasel are enough to make up for the losses, especially the volume Floating Kongzi Asks the True Lord Zinling, which is a treasure book for formation practice. Although it only has 1,000 words, each word is a gem, which will serve as a guide for his future formations. Tao practice points out the way forward. However, the collection of a cultivator with perfect innateness is definitely more than 10 times stronger than that of a demon cultivator in the middle stage of innateness. Su Junming pinched his spiritual skills with both hands, and a little blue light suddenly appeared in the air in front of him. The blue light quickly spread and turned into a hole that could allow one person to enter and exit. Having fully understood the 4 elephants covering the sky formation, he naturally does not need to make such a big fuss like he did when he broke the formation last time. Taking one step forward, the heavy, cold and extremely dense Qi of Kun and Yin was instantly enveloped. Following the traction of the formation, Su Junming took a step with his left foot. When it fell, he had already arrived at a stone platform the size of a millstone, with countless forbidden spiritual patterns densely covered on the surface. The water of Qingshui River was isolated from the stone platform by the large formation. The body of the middle-aged man in Taoist robes sat cross-legged in the center of the stone platform. Because he had seen it before, Su Junming took a quick look, stretched out his hand, and the Swanyan flag that the female ghost tried every possible means to snatch flew into her palm. With a burst of magic power, countless spiritual patterns emerged from the flags. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Is this a top-grade magic weapon from the 9 treasures? Su Junming was overjoyed. The best magical weapon he has ever seen is the sacred fire token in the hands of fire Taoist Qian Dinglin. According to Master Simu, it is a top-quality magical weapon with 12 forbidden treasures. Although this Swanyan flag is inferior, it is indeed a treasure that he can get his hands on. Unlike the divine fire token, he can only look at it with envy. After the joy passed, he frowned slightly. The 8th and 9th restrictions of the Swanyan banner are relatively flimsy, as if they are about to collapse at any time. Looking at the damage at the corners, I couldn't help but think of the female ghost's preface. It seems that the Swanyan flag was indeed damaged during the heavenly tribulation, but judging from her desperate struggle, there should be a way to repair it. Thinking of this, Su Junming looked at the magic bag around the waist of the middle-aged Taoist's body. With the touch of magic power, a faint spiritual light rose from the magic bag. Hey, it's still a magic weapon. He stretched out his hand and used magic power to lift it up, and the magic bag flew over from the body of the middle-aged Taoist. When I touched it, it was cold and extremely smooth. It's actually made of ice silk. Su Junming said in surprise. His magic bag is made of deer skin by the master. Although it is tough, it is far inferior to the ice silk in front of him. It also has 2 forbidden magic weapons. With the help of the bronze mirror, after a brief understanding, I discovered that the functions of the 2 treasure taboos are that one is to gather spirits and the other is to seal. The spiritual energy inside the magic bag is twice as rich as the outside. In addition, unless you are an innate monk or know the formula, you cannot break the seal of this magic bag and cannot get the contents inside. Moreover, the ice silk is not afraid of ordinary weapons, water and fire, and is much stronger than Su Junming's own magic bag. Su Junming fell in love with this bag that was light yellow in color and embroidered with Tai Chi diagrams on both sides. With his cultivation level, it is not difficult to break through the restrictions of this magic bag. Half an hour is enough. Open. The 9 hands were all put into the bag of magic, and Su Junming suddenly shouted. A bright white spiritual light flashed, and the barrier that originally blocked his consciousness disappeared instantly, and a space similar to his magic bag appeared in front of him. The dazzling scene he had expected before did not appear. In the entire bag, there are 3 blue and white porcelain vases, 2 jade slips, and nothing else. Su Junming was greatly disappointed. Although he didn't expect there to be magic weapons inside, it was too shabby. But what disappointed him even more was that all 3 blue and white porcelain vases were empty. Apparently, the elixir in them had been used up long before Yin Mingzi passed through the tribulation. Looking at the Swanyan flag in hand, and then at the almost empty magic bag, I couldn't help but smile bitterly. It's been quite the ups and downs. After sighing, he collected his mood and picked up 2 jade slips. One is bronze in color and has an old-fashioned feel, obviously it has been passed down for many years. The other one was shining with jade and looked very new. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 68. Chapter 68, Secret Demon Swanyan Scripture. First, he picked up the old jade slip, and with a push of magic power, countless seal characters appeared. The beginning of the left chapter is particularly eye-catching. Secret Demon Swanyan Scripture. Su Junming was shocked. The techniques at the scripture level are all Taoist techniques that lead directly to the immortal path. Since what was contained in this jade slip was a true scripture, it was far beyond his expectation. He quickly recited the calming mantra silently, calmed down, activated the bronze mirror to assist, and began to look carefully. About 2 hours passed, and I finally read the entire scripture word for word. It turns out to be a technique from the Golden Elixir sect. Different from the Fu Seal sect he belongs to, the Shangqing Daidong Sutra is the power, the Pure Yang Bagua and the Shen De Zhenju are the methods. After breaking into the Golden Elixir realm, what is condensed is the natal Fu Seal script, not the Golden Elixir. The philosophy of the Fu Seal school is, Fu Seal is the true meaning of the Great Tao. Condensing the natal Fu Seal is to understand the Great Tao. The Jindan sect's skills and methods are mixed, and what is condensed at the beginning is pure Yang magic power, pure Yin magic power, Thunder Dao magic power, etc. When you reach the Golden Elixir realm, you will condense the flawless Golden Elixir. When you reach the Yuanying realm, you will condense the flawless Yuanying. Although the two factions have different ideas, they ultimately reach the same goal. This secret demon Xuanyan manual is the fundamental method of the Jindan sect that condenses the magic power of Xuanyan. However, compared to the pure Yin techniques of Suanmen Taoism, this scripture is also mixed with magic techniques. The most significant difference between the demonic path and the righteous path is that the righteous path insists on the purity of mana, while the demonic path always condenses the evil spirit in the mana. The evil spirit is transformed by the evil spirit between heaven and earth. Although the power of Taoism will become stronger after being refined into magic power, the evil spirit is violent and difficult to tame. It is easy to become possessed or become perverse, and most people are abandoned by the righteous path. Su Junming has the Shangqing Great Cave Sutra and countless authentic transmissions from Mission, so naturally he cannot practice demonic techniques. However, this volume of the Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual contains countless explanations of the way of Xuanyan, as well as many techniques of Xuanyan and methods of refining magical weapons. If my Mission Xuanyan Ghost Slaying Sword is here at this moment, and I compare it with this Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual, I will definitely be able to advance quickly. Just by reading through it just now, the basic talisman of the Xuanyan Ghost Slaying Sword in his dantian has grown from 1 foot at the beginning to 4 feet. But Su Junming thought about the Xuanyan flag in his hand, and then looked inside at the Xuanyan talisman in his dantian. It seems that there is no conflict between these two techniques. The foundation of the Xuanyan Ghost Slaying Sword method is still the way of Xuanyan, and the Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual also explains the way of Xuanyan. If he practices the latter, he can also improve his progress in the path of Xuanyan, thereby improving the level of the basic talisman. But if you practice by comprehending the Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual, you will not be able to learn the most powerful Xuanyan Ghost Slaying Sword technique on the Xuanyan Ghost Slaying Sword. If you can't learn it, then you can't learn it. With this high-grade magic weapon Xuanyan flag, my strength can at least be improved several times. The techniques recorded in the Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual were enough to transform the Xuanyan flag into a legendary magic weapon, and Su Junming really couldn't bear to let it go. It seems that I will also learn the way of Xuanyan in the future. After the plan was decided, he picked up the last jade slip. It describes Yan Ming's insights into practicing the Secret Demon Xuanyan Sutra, as well as some of the methods of the good and evil schools he collected, as well as his insights into the four symbols formation. With Mission's orthodox inheritance in his possession, Su Junming was not unfamiliar with the magic, but his understanding of the Xuanyan way and the four symbols formation way were exactly what he wanted. After counting the harvest, he was a little disappointed with the situation in the bag. But a top-grade magical weapon called the Xuanyan flag with 9 treasures is worth the price of admission. Including the treasures harvested from the weasel, he made a big profit this time. He took out the Xuanyan flag again. According to the Secret Demon Xuanyan Manual, the flagpole was made of Dongzhen top-grade netherworld iron, and the flag banner was made of Xuanyan flower. Xianyin Hua is based on Xianyin Qi, which is refined into silk, and then supplemented by the brocade weaving technique. It is refined into a flag surface. The method of training Qi to become silk, as well as the brocade weaving technique, and the secret demon Swanyan manual were all recorded, which saved him a lot of trouble. He took out the jade slip, reviewed it again, and looked at the thick yin energy billowing outside. Having this ready-made material here will save me a lot of hard work. The jade slip said that it takes 3,000 strands of Xianyin Qi to make a 1-foot-long Xianyin Hua, which is of the highest quality. If he were in a place with weak yin Qi in the outside world, it would take him a month to practice one. A Swanyan flag requires 360 pieces, and it takes 30 years of hard work to make one. Of course, if you find a place with dense yin Qi, the time required will be greatly reduced. In addition, the Swanyan flag in his hand was only damaged, not retraining, and the difficulty has dropped a lot. Seeing the yin energy churning outside the formation, Su Junming moved Yin Ming's body to the side, and then sat down cross-legged. Having fully understood the 4 elephants covering the sky formation, he can freely control the formation and release the yin Qi for him to extract. Strand after strand, countless spiritual patterns were derived, and gradually, navy blue silk ribbons as thick as a hair emerged from Su Junming's hands. It took 3 days to refine one, and then use the brocade technique to weave it along the stubble of the Swanyan flag. Repeatedly, it took Su Junming a month to finally repair the Swanyan flag completely. During this period, thanks to Yin Ming's practice notes, the Swanyan talisman in his dantian also grew to 5 feet. With a rush of mana, 9 forbidden halos emerged from the Swanyan flag. With a wave of his hand, the Swanyan flag instantly turned into a large flag 5 feet high and 2 feet long. The flag was fierce, and a vortex suddenly appeared on the black flag surface. Su Junming opened the formation, and the thick yin energy outside was sucked in by the Swanyan flag like a river rolling backwards. After a quarter of an hour, it was visible to the naked eye that the yin Qi outside the formation became thinner. The yin vein in the Qingshui River was caused by the change of the mountains and rivers and the siltation of the earth's energy. It can only be regarded as a small yin vein, otherwise the 4 elephants covering the sky formation of the Dongzhen top grade would not be able to seal it. After draining the yin energy from the yin veins, the Swanyan flag turned into a 1-foot-long triangular flag and fell into Su Junming's hands. When I picked it up, it weighed more than 10 times as much as before. If the yin Qi in it can be refined, Swanyan banner can probably refine the 10th prohibition and become a top-quality magical weapon. Thinking of this, Su Junming felt slightly excited. The best magic weapon, that is a treasure that only the golden elixir master can have. He quickly took a few deep breaths, suppressed the excitement in his heart, grabbed the body of Yin Mingzi next to him, and flew out of the battle. The night outside the town was thick and dark clouds covered the sky. Not only could I not see my fingers, but it was not much different. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 69. Chapter 69, Crazy Su Junming. Putting down the body, Su Junming made a secret with his hands and silently activated his magic power. A boulder as big as a millstone emerged from the river. The boulder was shining with 4 colors of green, white, red and blue. As Su Junming's seal became more urgent, the brilliance became more intense. Suddenly, after a buzzing sound, it flew towards his hand. From southeast to northwest, 4 streams of light also followed. In the blink of an eye, a square stone plate that was more than a foot long and 1 finger thick appeared in Su Junming's hand. Squatting on the 4 corners of the stone plate were table tennis-sized green dragon, white tiger, red bird, and basalt jade carvings. This is the formation diagram of the 4 elephants covering the sky formation, with 4 jade carvings of the 4 elephants' divine beasts enclosing the formation. Su Junming has had a thorough understanding these days. The entire array is made from Dongzhen's top-grade Kongming stone, and it is a magical weapon of the 7 Taoist treasures. Before he could even finish his thoughts, he saw a flash of spiritual light from the array diagram, and with a click sound, countless fine lines suddenly appeared on the entire array diagram and the jade carvings of the 4 mythical beasts that dominated the array, and then the pieces shattered, turned into powder, and drifted away in the wind. My formation diagram. Su Junming, who was wailing in his heart, had a look of pain on his face. Nothing made him feel more distressed than having a precious, high-grade magic weapon array destroyed in his own hands. If there is, it must be the best magic weapon level. The irritable Su Junming couldn't wait to take out the female ghost and beat her up again, so as to express his inner depression. After taking a deep breath and giving myself a pure heart talisman, I finally felt much better. Pity. The thunder of that year, the continuous erosion of yin qi over the past hundreds of years, and the lack of mana to nourish it, have exhausted all the spiritual power of this formation. It's pretty good that it can hold up until now before it breaks. Then with a wave of his hand, he threw away the remaining scraps in his hand, and took one last look at King Shuhi, where he had been staying for more than a month. He grabbed Yin Ming's body, silently performed magic, and walked away. They found a place with beautiful scenery, burned Yin Ming's body to ashes, put it in an earthen jar, and buried it in it. Recited the rebirth mantra once. Although you and I have never met each other, I accept your benefit today and bury your body as my reward. I hope you can still embark on the path of spiritual practice the next day. After inserting the carved tombstone into the soil and looking at the solitary tomb stacked with stones, Su Junming remained silent. Although the ascetics are tyrannical in their methods, the moment they set out to practice, they are in danger at every step. If you are not careful, both body and soul will be destroyed. Similar to Yin Ming's situation where the body is buried, although it is alone and in a solitary grave, it is still a good ending. Tanzhou, the capital of Nanhu Province, is located on the bank of the Yangtze River, densely populated and extremely wealthy. Su Junming looked up at the tall city gate not far away and followed the flow of people. In the past, he had to avoid crowded thoroughfares when driving corpses, so he had never entered a city. Now that the transaction is completed, it is necessary to visit the scenery of Tanzhou City in this era. It just so happened that he had to pass through this place when going to Megashanfang City, so it didn't take much time. Walking to the city gate, there were soldiers in green cloth uniforms on both sides, carrying guns, laughing and chatting without any scruples. Although the former dynasty was overthrown after the shot, these soldiers with their braids cut off and revolutionary uniforms on the ship still maintained the old habits of the former dynasty's green camp. In addition to looking at the gate and hugging the young girls and wives entering the city, when it comes to fighting, the words "mud can't hold up the wall" is the most appropriate way to describe it. Su Junming is a monk, and all the things he experienced as an angry youth in his previous life have become a thing of the past. Fighting for the rise of a certain China, stepping on the furry bear, slapping Yingzhong to death, knocking down John Bull, recreating my middle school dream of a prosperous world in heaven, he still thought about it when he first traveled through time. But after being hungry for 3 days, he finally pulled his face, asked for some food, stuffed his belly and went to the government to pretend to be a young returnee. However, he was beaten out as a beggar, and things went from bad to worse. Facts have proved that people who are not doing well in modern society still suffer from diarrhea in ancient times. Looking back at the unbearable past, Su Junming shook his head secretly. After gathering my mood, I walked into the city. After passing through Wengcheng, a straight main road divides the city into east and west parts. Tea houses, taverns, rice shops, and cloth shops line up on both sides of the road, making it a bustling place. The sound of carriages and horses and the bustling atmosphere of the market gave Su Junming a feeling that he had not seen for a long time. After stopping for a moment and feeling it, I identified the direction and walked forward along the street. After walking for a while, I saw the sign of Shenlong Bank and walked in. Facing the hall is a 100 square meter hall. On the right is a counter, half of which is built with bricks and lime. In addition to the counter, there are several rows of stools on the left side of the door, but there are not many people queuing up. As soon as Su Junming stepped through the door, a young man wearing a melonskin hat and coarse cloth and tsingyi hurriedly greeted him. Although he was surprised that a young Taoist priest came, he did not forget his duties. "Master Dao, come to our account. Do you want to withdraw money or deposit money?" "Withdraw money." "Please come this way." The boy brought Su Junming to a window. "Please sit down." Then he shouted inside, "Master Sun, this Taoist master is withdrawing money." Inside, a middle-aged man with black-rimmed glasses, a thin face, and a shrewd look in his eyes nodded. After smoothing the abacus on his hand, he looked at Su Junming. "How much money does the Taoist want to withdraw?" 11,300 taels of silver. As he said that, he took out his storage bag and took out all the banknotes he got from Tolong. Shenlong Bank is one of the largest banks in the country. They have branches in major cities across the country. They issue the banknotes in Tolong's hands. The middle-aged man was startled and took another look at the unshaven but young-looking Taoist priest in front of him. Wearing an old green cloth Taoist robe with holes, he was carrying two large bags with rusty Tai Chi pictures on his back. He was holding a green bamboo stick about 2 meters long in his hand. His face was mulberry-colored, but there was no trace of it. He was tired, his eyes were filled with divine light, and his black hair, which was half long but not short, was casually tied into a bun on the top of his head with a rope. Such a person does not look like he has a net worth of 10,000 taels of silver. However, there were many strange people among the monks and Taoists, and he did not dare to make any inferences. "Does the Taoist priest have any credentials?" "Of course." As he spoke, he handed a stack of banknotes through the window. He took it with both hands and looked at it. Except for a 300 tael silver note, the rest were all 1,000 tael silver notes issued by his own bank. The handwriting was clear and the seal was complete. They were obviously not fakes. Sun Lin was shocked at the Taoist's wealth and quickly stood up and handed back the banknote. "Taoist master, please wait a moment." After Su Junming took the banknote, he shouted outside, "Mistress, take the Taoist priest to the VIP room." "No." The boy who had received Su Junming before ran over quickly. After nodding slightly apologetically to Su Junming, Sun Lin turned around and walked towards the inner room. "Master Dao, please come this way." There was surprise in his tone and look. Ever since he came to the Shenlong Yinhao waiting hall, all the people who could enter the VIP room were rich and wealthy businessmen in gorgeous clothes. This was the first time he had seen this person in front of him who looked worse than himself. Before, if it weren't for his extraordinary appearance, he wouldn't have been so polite. After Su Junming nodded, he followed him into the opposite cubicle. Become a disciple of Taoist priest 4 Eyes. Author, Dong Ren. Chapter 70. Chapter 70 Shenlong Bank. Compared to the simplicity outside, the decoration here is obviously much more luxurious. The floor is covered with carpets, and the sofas are all genuine leather imported from abroad. There is a wine cabinet and a coffee table next to it. There are cleaned fruits on the table. "Master Taoist, please sit down." Su Junming was not polite and sat down. Squeak. With the sound of the door opening, Sun Lin, who had left before, opened the door and walked in. Along with him, there was an elegant-looking middle-aged man in a black suit. "That's the Taoist priest." Sun Lin pointed at Su Junming. The middle-aged man looked at the young Taoist in front of him who was slovenly dressed, but his hands, feet, face and other exposed parts were neat and clean, exuding an aura of dust. He took 2 steps forward and stretched out his right hand out of habit. "I, Huang Yuanjia, am the manager of the Tanzhou branch of Shenlong Bank. I have met the Taoist priest." After shaking hands with the other party as the Romans do, Su Junming looked at the other party's eyebrows and then smiled. The poor Taoist Su Junming has met layman Huang. Please sit down. After both parties sit down, can the Taoist master take out the banknote and give me the money to take a look at? Nature. Take out the banknote and hand it over. Huang Yuanjia took a first look at the change, took out a magnifying glass from his pocket, carefully compared the seal and the number, and nodded after feeling at a loss. These banknotes are indeed issued by this account. Do you want Daozang Su to withdraw them all? Good. He nodded understandingly. The amount of silver taken by the Taoist master is huge. It will take us Shenglong 3 days to collect it. I hope the Taoist master can understand. In this era when 2 or 3 taels of silver can meet the monthly needs of a family of 5,000-10,000 taels of silver is indeed not a small amount. Then I'll come back in 3 days. Thank you, Director Su, for your understanding. Please ask Director Su to take back these banknotes. After taking it back and putting it into the bag, Su Junming stood up. Has anything strange happened to Zheshi Wang's family recently? Huang Yuanjia frowned. My family is in good health, but I don't know what the long fingers are. He is a returnee from overseas and has never believed in Buddhism, Taoism, or gods. Since there is nothing to do, there is no need to say more. I will come back in 3 days and say goodbye. After that, he waved his green bamboo stick, and without waiting for Huang Yuanjia to say anything, he strode open the door and left. Looking at the tall figure in front of him, Huang Yuanjia was a little stunned. In his impression, those Taoist priests who cheated him out of food and drink were not going to teach him about the 5 elements of yin and yang, and then said that he was destined to commit tai sui, and offered him hundreds of taels of silver to help him solve his misfortune. Bala, ba a set of rhetoric. Shaked his head. Perhaps he is planning to catch Zhang Taigong's fisherman. After leaving the bank, Su Junming walked forward no more than 10 meters, looked up and walked into a tailor shop. A few days ago, when I was driving away corpses, I traveled across mountains and rivers, often sleeping rough in the old forests of Shenshang. The few Taoist robes I brought with me turned into beggars' clothes. Although monks don't care about clothing, at least being clean and tidy is a must. He took a tael of silver from the bag and ordered 5 blue robes and 5 pairs of boots according to his own size. After agreeing to pick them up in 3 days, Su Junming walked out. Just when he was hesitating whether to find a ruined temple to live in or go to an inn, his heart moved slightly, and a small hand secretly poked into the deerskin bag he had placed on the surface. The speed is quite fast. Snapped. Turning around like lightning, he grabbed the small claws stretched out to his waist. Looking at the boy in front of him who looked horrified and was wearing old clothes with lots of patches, he was about 11 or 12 years old. Little guy, you don't learn well at a young age, and you actually steal things from others. I didn't steal anything from you, let go. Didn't steal anything? You almost put your hand into my bag. You said you didn't steal anything. The boy pulled hard, but the Taoist priest's hands were like iron hooks, and no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't break free. In desperation, I can only use quick wits. He rolled his eyes and had an idea. I wanted to stop you just now. But I'm not as tall as you. When I reached out to shoot, I could only reach your waist. What a cunning little guy. We don't know each other. What did you ask me to do? It sounds like you have a foreign accent and are carrying a big bag. You must not have found a place to stay. Why not go to my house? It's 5 people a day and it's much cheaper than an inn. Are you a local? Su Junming let go of his hand. He quickly took it back and looked at his wrist. Although it hurt a little, there was no trace of bruises. Well, my family lives in the south of the city. Take me there. If I'm satisfied, I'll do as you say, $5 a day. 5 eldest sons are 5 copper coins. The boy looked happy. Although he didn't steal any money, it was good to get a business deal. Follow me, right in front. Su Junming nodded and followed. He didn't like the noise of the inn. If he could find a quiet house to live in, even if it was a simple one, he wouldn't care. May I have your name? Su Junming asked as he walked. My nickname is Ma Changshan, and people I know call me Maotu. Maotu. They said I had too much hair on my head, like a braised egg with hair, so they called me Mao Dan. I didn't like Mao Dan as a bad name, so I forced them to call me Mao Tiu, and gradually the name became popular. The people Mao Tiu mentioned were naturally his friends in the neighborhood. Su Junming also experienced this when he was a child. Taoist priest, what's your name? My surname is Su, please call me Dao Kang Su. After patting the hairy head, Su Junming smiled. Mao Tiu nodded, looking at the young Taoist with a gentle attitude that made people feel close and trustworthy. He suddenly felt a sense of shame in his heart. After gritting his teeth, he suddenly spoke in a low tone. I'm sorry, Director Su, I did intend to steal your things just now. However, I did it only as a last resort. Who in your family is sick? How do you know? Mao Tiu said in shock. Su Junming smiled, and his Tai Bagua had already entered the door. Although it is not possible to do such a difficult thing as calculating the secrets of heaven, some simple numerology can also be used to calculate 1 or 2. I'm a Taoist priest. Things like fortune telling are my specialty. Then can you see how I can get rich? Su Junming's smile froze. Are all children in the 20th century already so simple? Pa, he slapped Mao Tiu on the back of his head. When I was young, I didn't want to think about studying and learning skills. I only thought about pie-in-the-sky things. Mao Tiu curled his lips, rubbed the back of his head with a grin on his face, and muttered as he walked. Looking at the way you are dressed, I know it's impossible. Bad boy, what did you say? Hey, Taoist priest. I said you are so handsome. If Sister Yao from Chunfang Tower sees you, she will pay you 10 taels of silver and she will sleep with you. Su Junming couldn't laugh or cry for a moment.